Alright, so dealing with bushes of various forms and flavors. You can use magic on these, but I want money.
Wow, 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 wow. It just went down again.
Yes! Success!
I think we're good. It came back up. So.
It did? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we're good. Stop it, Everhate, please.
It's good stuff. This is why I'm not allowed to do things. Alright. So a little bit of a technique here that I just messed up. In between killing these, I'm going to take one step up to a place that it looks like I shouldn't need to go. That step up is going to spawn extra enemies above that I can kill from across the river, which is going to save time waiting for them to spawn later on. And since I have downtime between enemies, I do have to wait for that to actually explode before I can leave the area. It doesn't cost any time to set that up. We're in kind of tight hallways and we deal with the other random enemy in this area. There's a type of this lizard that will disappear, move, and then reappear. That's awful luck. As expected. I tried to play the odds there. Basically, if they move left, it is very bad. If they move, or if they move to the right, it is even worse. You want them to all move up or down. So it took some extra damage, not too big a deal. Wait for this thing to pass. And into this next area, in any percent we would have a medical herb here. And what that would allow us to do, there are these floors here that, as you see, get red and then they go back to gray. That's them heating and then cooling off. So if I were able to get medical herbs, then I would just basically damage boost across all of these tiles. As it is, I'm just going to have to wait some of them out. I don't know why I'm killing this enemy set. I don't need to kill this enemy set, but I'm committed, so we're going to do it anyway. 2 east to 8% route. That gem down there is what would give you light arrow, if I were allowed to pick up light arrow. And that is the best spell in the game by a rather large margin. It's kind of like Fireball, only it goes in all 4 directions at a time, and it does about twice as much damage. Because the sprite is bigger, it can also hit multiple times more easily. At the cost of 8 gems as opposed to 4. So, light arrow is a pivotal thing for any percent. We do have the fireball though, which allows us to kill any enemies that need to be killed with magic, so we're good. Nice shot. Nice shot again. So these you would typically either kill with your sword or with magic. With Fireball, you just have to fire 2 shots, which means lining up the ball to coincide with their vulnerability period. Probably going to take a death here. Low percent in this is all about weapons, armor, magic items. There's a minimum level that is required to beat the game. So I'm not allowed to pick up any weapons, armor, magic, or items that aren't strictly required to beat the game. But you do have to be at least level 24 in order to beat the game, and we'll beat the game at level 24. We're not going to get any extra levels. And the reasoning for that is, as you acquire additional swords, Each of them has a level requirement to be able to swing them, and the only way to be able to hit the final boss is to be able to swing the highest level sword. And we'll get into why that is a little bit later on. But that is, since that's the only way to do it, you do actually need that to be able to beat the game. I'm super low on gems. I'm gonna pick up that chest. I do allow myself to get gem chests, mostly because I can get them by farming enemies anyway. It doesn't make much of a difference. Hopefully I can get back to town without dying. Nope. Okay. Not a big deal. I did open the warp on the way through, so it didn't cost that much time. I've done this category before. I did on the Japanese version. So the death there, deaths in this game don't really cost you a whole lot. It's you just lose your gems, which means you lose your ability to cast magic until you collect more. Not as big a concern in this category because you just have Fireball rather than having the Light Arrow. So now we just have to go trigger some plot elements. Down here in this cave there's a mole right there that if you talk to him will let you see in the dark areas that are coming up. It takes about 20 seconds for his conversation though, so we're gonna skip that. And instead we'll pretend this is Zelda 2, because every game really wants to be Zelda 2. Yep, that was the appearance of Turbo, who is the Quintet mascot. The ghost of Turbo in this case. And the Light Shrine. This area is packed with enemies, and is one of the very few places in the game where there is a significant amount of lag. It's going to tank a bunch of hits here. And normally I would also be using fireballs to kill some extra enemies. Except I lost all my gems. That's alright though, we still got most of them. Yeah, it doesn't have a leaderboard because I'm the only person that has done this run to my knowledge. So we've got more of these lizards that move randomly, but as long as you position yourself well, you can get to any of the places that could possibly go, so there's no real preference as far as these this set of enemies go. Really don't want to get hit by the spirit ball, just in terms of health conservation. I may end up taking a hit from it anyway, but I prefer not to. Walked right into it. Good use. Right. So here I'm going to be killing this set of enemies, spawning 2 other sets at the same time. There's these firemen to the left, and then there are more lizards up and to the left. Nice shot. Go. And that'll just save time waiting for, because you notice every one of these takes a couple of seconds to spawn. And enemies will either be one at a time, where they'll just continue to spawn, they'll spawn only when you kill the previous enemy, or they'll appear just after a delay, and those 2 are both after delay, so I want to get all of them out there if I possibly can. And now we're into dark walking. This basement isn't terribly difficult to navigate in the dark as long as you know what you're doing. It's mostly just kind of square rooms and working your way through them. There are a couple of places you can get hung up, but as long as you've gone through this with the light a couple of times, it's fairly easy to figure out. And this is the area just before the boss. This boss is typically the hardest boss in the game. That's often the case in casual plays as well as speedruns. It is not random at all, so as long as I execute properly, it won't be an issue. If I make a little bit of a misstep, I could very easily die. I am rather low on gems for the next area, which is a concern, but we'll figure something out. Take a little bit of a health refill for the purpose of safety. This boss can kill me outright in 3 hits, and I have 3 sort of mini bosses to deal with. Completely botched this. I'm gonna try it with backup strats, which are very, very slow. But I botched my first turn on that boss. Okay. Made it through without dying. It wasn't a clean fight, because the second head almost destroyed me, but we recovered from it. So this releases the Guardian of the second area. He has the next stone for us, which is our sign that we can move on. And get close to finally getting some armor. Now, the game intends you to get, there's a set of armor called the ice armor in that area that's in that chest behind the tree. And the game intends you to need that later on. Oh, not down. We're going to get around that. It's going to be really scary, but Leo's lab can be done without the ice armor, without any herbs. I like to talk to this mermaid statue twice because I'm mashing the wrong button. You kind of get in this rhythm of mashing text and don't always pay attention to when the box is ending. Okay. This first item, or this first island rather, is the gateway to the bubble armor. And it is very dangerous. I'll die in just a few hits here. And being down to 37 herbs, I'm going to play rather cautiously and just kind of hope that I don't die. So, whereas it would take 1 light arrow to kill these rocks, takes 4 fireballs. Because the light arrow can hit twice per hit. Which means I don't have nearly enough gems to be able to, just kill these things. And I have to actually sword down some of the rocks. Just trickier than it may appear. They have, when you're swinging your sword, you deal out a little bit of hit stun. and trying to deal with the movement of those rocks. They move in kind of strange ways. They have a lot of HP and they don't take much damage. Apparently I like to get hit by a bubble. Good ideas. So actually killing them with the sword is kind of tricky. I'm gonna kill this fish, because otherwise it will kill me. Nope, couldn't get myself to move up. Alright. So you look for kind of stutter steps on those in between your sword swings. Didn't quite get it there, but that's alright. Just need to loop around and kill those rocks. The game saves progress that you made in dungeons, because it expects you to die in places. Let's boost through that guy. We just have to kill a set of rocks and then a set of gorillas. And again here, if I were looking to optimize my death warps, I would take hits on these until I was down to as little health as possible, because I'm going to die immediately after this. Let's take a little bit of damage instead and have a slightly slower death warp. So this area of the game is, you get mermaids, you get anglerfish, you get dolphins. Some of those are helpful, some of those are not useful at all. We actually don't release any angelfish in the run, because they're mostly, they tell backstory, or they give you minor powers, or things we're not terribly interested in. So, talking to this mermaid will give us the bubble armor. This is the only piece of armor that I'll get until very close to the end of the game. Not going to equip it immediately, because I'm going to take a death warp out this next island. So if you walk underwater without the bubble armor, this is what happens. You take damage every so often. And even if you went crazy and grinded for 80 hours to get to max level, you wouldn't be able to live long enough underwater to accomplish all the things you need to accomplish. Gonna take one more hit here, but let's take an extra bubble hit afterwards instead. This is the first of 4 mermaid statues. As you can kind of tell by the layout of the area. And each one of those will open up a new passage to a new island. So it's kind of, go to an island and go until you have opened a mermaid statue, then you can return to town. That'll open up the new area for you. So that's what we'll do. The mermaids do dance. We won't see it here, but there is a mermaid dance. They'll actually teach you to dance as well. Alright, so this is what the bubble armor does. It projects a bubble around you and protects you from taking damage from being underwater, where you know, are slightly incapable of breathing. These jellyfish are pseudo-random. They have some randomness to their movement, but they're aggressive and they'll charge toward you if you're within a tile of them in a primary direction. So you can manipulate them to be within a couple of tiles of movement in total, most of the time. I'm gonna kill 2 birds here. This is something I would normally do for a medical herb. I'm gonna use the gems instead, because I'm not allowed to get a medical herb. And that'll be helpful through this area. I lined on the wrong tile there, so this first skill is gonna be slow. So we're on the Isle of Rain. No, we're not. We're on... I forget the name of this island. Isle of Rain comes later. It's the island of not important stuff, just monkeys and rocks. We're just looking to release the next statue so we can get to the truly dangerous island, which is the volcanic island. Not quite. Rockbird, that's the name of the island. I can take a death warp off of this island. For the purpose of mitigating luck for a marathon run, I'm not going to. I'm going to take an alternate path off of the island. And the reasoning is that the next section, this next island, is luck-based. In order to get through it without the medical or without the mermaid's tears, you do need good luck. And mitigating gem luck will at least allow me to ensure that I can make it in 2 trips. Nice shot. So I'm going to open a blue gem here. That'll open a portal back to town. I could also walk back to town. This is slightly faster if you do it properly. Okay, so the volcanic island Durian has magma on the ground that will deal damage to you. Very large amounts of damage to you. You're intended to shut that off by placing the mermaid's tears at the top of the volcano. In addition to that, it has rocks that fall randomly and will do damage to you, and you're intended to get the spirit of an angelfish to help protect you from that. We're doing neither one of those things, and we're not getting the medical herb that lets you damage boost through things, so it is very tight on health, and you need a little bit of gem luck to be able to kill some enemies that are on a high ground. So that's why I went ahead and got the gems and then hold on to them. I'm going to kill these seahorses while I'm killing these jellyfish because it doesn't really cost any time, and they'll open a very small shortcut that saves a little bit of time later on. Because it saves time going to the next couple of areas, and I'll also return here later on in the game. Not quite in the same spot that you would in any percent. Oh, come on, bird. Killed those 2 birds to the right. It's a little bit faster than killing them when we come back around on it. So hopefully I'm going to be taking advantage of these couple of cutscenes to recover any random damage that I take. But if I get hit by too many falling rocks, then I'm going to have to take a death here and then come back to the island. I can be no more than 5 HP down from max by the time I get to the end of this place, or the magma will kill me. There's a nice rock. That is a strange path, 'cause I stood in the wrong spot. Alright, so we should be good on gems. It's going to depend on how well I can hit the rocks with fireballs. I had fired 4 shots there, only 3. Take a bird. Took a long path around to avoid the bubble, and the bird decided it wanted to snipe me, so I'm probably gonna have a death here. But that's okay. I have exactly the HP that I need if everything works properly. Meaning no more falling rocks hit me. Oh, convenient level up. Yeah, that's right, because I got the experience in a different place. Never mind, we're fine. Down to the right is the critical sword, which we're obviously skipping. And we've made it through the volcanic island. Another reason that you want to leave the magma hot is that you'll come back to this island later in the game for a piece of the Phoenix magic. And the fastest way off it's a death warp, and the only thing that'll really do damage to you at that point is this magma, because it does a set amount of damage. So now, the Isle of Rain. We do have to pick up an item here because it's just required to advance. That is the Thunder Ring. It's the only way to kill metal enemies at this point in the game, and there's one set that is required. Lie to the dolphin, or mermaid, about the dolphin, or the queen, or something. Talk to a dolphin. There we go. So this is Lou. She is related to Dr. Leo and to Lisa, and used to have the blue stone, but the Queen of the Mermaids now has it. Lou does have the Thunder Ring, though. And the Thunder Ring is a really cool item that is unfortunately only used in this one spot in the game. So, up to this point, this has been very close to any percent. There are some small differences, like not getting the light arrow is kind of difficult. We're approaching the area in the game where things start to get much harder than any percent. And that's because you would soon get the power bracelet, which doubles the damage that you do with your sword. And that is whether you poke with it or you swing with it, and it's the single best item in the game for both saving time and just increasing your survivability by making sure you can kill enemies on time. we can't have that, so enemies will take much longer to kill than they would in any percent, but we'll find ways to get through. So when I touched that spot there, you saw lightning come down. That's what the Thunder Ring does. Kind of hurt these gorillas. You have to move slow, or they'll stop and attack like that. And that was the only enemy that we need to kill here. Didn't take a lot of damage like I should have. Oh, let's take a death warp here. The other option is if you kill these birds, they'll give you a blue gem that you can use to warp back to town. But it's a bit faster just to die, and I don't really need the gems right now. Alright, so there's a path to the ghost ship, where they launch nuclear missiles and teach you to cast EMP and cloaking or something. I don't know. Other random StarCraft references. And in this sort of interim screen that's coming up is where you get the power bracelet. I'm going to go ahead and open up the portal here, just again for safety in case I do die to this boss. I want to have that available. There should be fine against this boss, but without the power bracelet it is a longer fight, meaning that, you know, small mistakes add up over the course of it. And this fight again is largely about positioning. Didn't kill it. It's not good news. Missed a lot of hits, but still not too bad. That's a boss that can be a little bit difficult in casual play, just because the hands do a lot of damage and it takes a lot of damage to kill them. The actual boss itself isn't much of a problem, it's just those two hands. And what you see a lot of against the bosses in particular is just taking advantage of the giant hitbox on the sword. It is about a tile in any direction bigger than you would expect it to be. And because most boss hitboxes are gigantic, like the size of their sprite, but they can only hurt you with certain parts of it, it makes most of them not too difficult to deal with. Now, the combination of not having armor and dealing half damage of what we would normally do makes them slightly more challenging than they would be otherwise, but not too terribly bad. So, Queen of the Mermaids, who, as we heard, had the blue stone. Now she's going to give that to us, and let's move on to the next area, which is the Mountain of Souls. The Mountain of Souls is normally kind of an easy area. The first few areas of this game are surprisingly difficult, and this one is not too bad apart from dealing with bats. There are a couple of things that make this a little bit more tricky, but it's still fairly easy compared to most of the rest of the game. Yes, this game was published by Enix. It was developed by Quintet, who did the ActRaiser games, Illusion of Gaia, Terranigma, and Robotrek for the Super Nintendo. So obviously I'm still on the first sword. And without a power bracelet, these things do take quite a few hits to kill, but they're not overly dangerous. Yeah, all of the Quintet games are actually in this marathon. Let me go ahead and pull these over to this rock to kill these snowballs, even though I'm not going to kill these bats, or owls, or whatever they are. There are two types of what you would typically call bats in this area, so I'm not really sure how to distinguish the two. These are the easy ones, because they move in predictable diagonal patterns. The ones later on will circle around you, and are much more difficult to hit with your sword. You normally kill the set below this also, because that gives you gems and herb and the magic armor, none of which I'm interested in, because 2 out of those 3 I'm not allowed to get anyway. These snowballs, by the way, are some of the strongest enemies in the game. They can only be killed by the final sword. Or by running them into things. I'm gonna kill that one moose just to get it out of the way, so I can take a better path on the way down here. Alright, that releases a boy who will give us the mushroom shoes. They're required because that ice that I just walked across, if you press in a direction, you will continue going in that direction until you hit a wall or other obstacle. We do actually have to navigate a little bit more precisely than that to be able to get through, so we do need the mushroom shoes. The power of snail goo. So this area has a little bit of an interesting storyline. I'm going to take a health refill here. You release gnomes in this area of various ages. You get, kids and grandmas and grandpas and those kind of things. But in talking to them, you come to realize that the gnomes only have, they only live for 1 year. So the ones that look old are, 8, 9, 10 months old. But they're able to fit a full life worth of living into their 1 year. So there's some interesting dialogue to support all that stuff. And they also have snail races. Mushroom shoes. And the extent of needing the mushroom shoes is this right here. Once you get past that corner, I don't need to equip a power bracelet because I don't have a power bracelet. Once you get past that corner, you don't need them anymore. I'll continue to use them because I have better options, but that's it. That's the entirety of... Come on, slimes, cooperate, please. I'd rather not die to slimes. They are surprisingly difficult when you can't kill them, and they do a lot of damage. Alright, let's try that with less dying. Slimes are an enemy that normally isn't too bad, but if you get here with down an armor and down a power bracelet, their random movement begins to be a bit problematic. There we go. A little bit more cooperative this time. I'm short on gems because of that death, which is unfortunate because you kill a lot of enemies with gems in this area, or with magic. So I'll probably have to sword a few of these Wizarobes. Shoot more than one, please. Yeah, I'm gonna have to sword all of them. I forgot they took 4. I was thinking they took 2. So it's preferable to kill these with magic because you don't have to wait for them to spin up and then land and all that kind of stuff. And now we have the single worst enemies in this area of the game. That slime. That slime refused to let me pass. Alright, so the bats circle around you. I took a couple of extra hits on the way there. A lot of deaths are expected in this run because of the circumstances. What I try to do is lure that bat down and then be able to kill it there, but the slime just decided to want to jump on top of me, so that wasn't a possibility. That's alright. Get the next trip through. Alright, slimes. I prefer just ignore these slimes, but they're having none of it, so I'm just gonna kill them. Ah, come on. If you move too early, you really can't hit these things. They'll only turn when they're a certain distance away from you. Get in the portal, please. Wow, that killed me. Okay. I thought I had 1 health to spare there. Yes, there will be a number of deaths. That's a known quantity. Combination of take a bunch of extra damage and deal half damage is not too terribly friendly. But we will fight through. So hit those two to break them apart, just give me more room to maneuver, because there's no telling exactly where these things are going to reappear. That way I make sure that I don't run into the bodies of them. And I'm going to do things a little bit out of order here. It's just a bad spot. Wait for the next one. So I'm waiting for slimes to spawn up on the left side. Which I couldn't quite kill with two. That's too bad. Oh, come on. The spacing on these is kind of annoying to get used to. Okay. That opens up this warp because some of these other layers are quite difficult to deal with. That way if I die, I have a quick way back. So we have a Lucky Blade. That is, unfortunately, a required item. You can't proceed to the next area if you don't have the Lucky Blade. There's an old man who'll get in your way. Right, now we have Wizrobes on ice with bats. Looking for it to reappear somewhere that's within actual striking distance of me. As opposed to over on the far left. I can't realistically get to them. This is another reason that you don't want them disappearing, but we don't really have a choice, is that they can they take a random amount of time to reappear. So it's possible that they just disappear for long periods of time like that. And then you're just kind of stuck in a holding pattern waiting for them. Alright, now we get introduced to red Wizzrobes, who are like those, only they fire 3 shots per cycle. I do have a handful of gems. And if my aim is good, because I'm hitting top to bottom, you get a little bit more leniency on the hitbox of the spell. So I can get extra hits in by doing that and not have to walk up and kill him with the sword. And I apologize, I may have had my microphone muted for large parts of that, I just now realized it. Alright, so we walked past this guy who was blocking us so we didn't have the lucky blade. That was the reasoning for getting it. And on to the next area. Now while we do have a better sword, we cannot currently swing it because we're not high enough level. And poking with it would do the same amount of damage. So, in order to keep the utility of being able to swing it, which does more damage, I'm going to continue with the first sword until I'm able to equip a higher level one. And I actually will skip equipping the Lucky Blade altogether in all likelihood. So you may notice my positioning is a little bit strange. If you see there's a long side and a short side to the swing. That's unfortunate. He appeared across the river, I can't get to him. The long side, the hitbox persists for longer, so it's easier to sort of stun lock enemies. Okay, we'll let that spawn and we'll let these spawn. I'm going to kill these slimes before those Wizzrobes. And now the fun one. Trying to figure out a position you can stand without getting hit when there are 3 of those firing at once is a little bit weird. Okay, you can do things in any order here, so what I'm going to opt to do is let this pass and just go straight to the boss, and then come back and kill the stuff that I need to kill. Again, this boss is a lot trickier in casual play. You can actually just kind of stand there and not be threatened. Now I do have to dodge some of these spears. Took a hit there anyway. Because I don't quite have enough health to tank all of the hits. Without the power bracelet to do extra damage and with the bubble armor. Alright, so one more hit obviously kills me. Meaning I have to find the spots in these cycles where I can get to it. I'm just going to avoid the middle cycle for the most part, move back in to be able to get the dodge pattern on the fireballs. I wanted to use the arm this far to the right, which I didn't. Oh, one tile too close. Alright. So that was 2 unnecessary hits in that fight. Could have gotten away without. It was just being a dumb. But that's fine. We'll get it next time. Alright, change of plans. That took a hit. If that red Wizrobe appears on top of you and you take a hit, I would prefer not to go in the boss fight down health for obvious reasons. I can do damage a lot faster when I can afford to take a hit than when I can't. So I'll kill some of these things that need to be killed anyway. And in doing this, there's a teleporter that I can open up where I might get another level in here that'll refill HP. But they're enemies that need to be killed either way for required triggers. Bad position. These things are appearing on the half tiles instead of the full tiles, which is strange. Just kind of juggling these two the best that I can until it kills me. Good job, slime. These slimes have had my number today. They're the only enemy that actually is unpredictable enough. What am I doing? Unpredictable enough that they're dangerous. The Wizrobes and both the blue and red variety obviously do move randomly, but they take enough time to disappear and reappear that they're not too hard to react to. The slimes jump quickly, and if you're trying to actually maximize damage on them, they can jump into you and you take a few hits, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. That Wizard was taking his sweet time to reappear. Come on. Alright, bit of a strange pattern on those. $15. That's right, not 14. Alright, so there will be one set of bats I need to kill after the boss. See if I can do it this time without taking a bunch of unnecessary hits. So when it's in the center, at least while I have HP, I'm going to take a damage, or take a hit of damage to be able to get it more quickly on it. But it depends on how many times it chooses left versus right hand when it's on the sides. How many times I can actually get away with tanking those hits. No, this boss killed me pretty hard. It had like 2 HP left and I died to it. Alright. I can take 2 hits now. So I can take this hit and then kill it when it drops down. So while this is kind of, this area is really easy in any percent, it is quite difficult in low percent, just because of the number of annoying enemies to deal with, including more bats. One last set of bats to kill. Yeah, the boss has changed from female in the Japanese version to male in this version, for some reason. Alright. I'm gonna release 2 grandmas here, and they are the heroes. We'll be returning to them later on. They will show us the power of dancing. And that takes care of everything that needs to be done in this area, and we're off to Leo's lab. Now, Leo's lab is notable in that it is the first place with widespread metal enemies that you can't kill without a particular sword. It will also give us that sword, but I'm not high enough level to be able to use it. Normally this wouldn't be a problem and you could just poke things to death, but given the nature of the enemies, I'm going to actually grind up to an appropriate level. Along the way, I'm going to get another quest item that's needed later, one of the pieces for the Phoenix. So this is a relatively short grind, but it just makes sure I can actually kill the enemies when they're on cycle, as opposed to losing potentially a couple of minutes for each one of the cycles. You are unsuccessful in summoning the Phoenix if you haven't released both grandmas. They're part of the ritual that's needed to summon it. And there is likely to be at least one death in the basement of this area. Because there are damage tiles I have to walk across that's similar to the magma from the volcanic island. You're supposed to have the ice armor to protect you from it, but I obviously don't. And given the amount of damage that they do, I'm unlikely to be able to make it in one pass, so I'll do one pass to clear as much as I possibly can, and then a second pass to try to get through there. It has a message about not being able to complete the ritual. I don't remember exactly what the message was. Alright. Zantetsu sword. And immediately run away. So the game wants you to kind of explore as you get new weapons, or keep track of enemies that you couldn't kill, and then come back at the end and figure out how to figure out where all the pieces are for the Phoenix. And this is one of those. There are 3 items that are needed. 2 of them come from enemies that you couldn't kill the first time through, and then the last one is found in the World of Evil. You can put off backtracking for this until later, but since I'm going to get the extra experience anyway, I may as well get it now. And the fastest way back to town is to die on this magma that we didn't deactivate. The Phoenix resides on the stick. So you have to find all 3 pieces of the Phoenix, then go visit the Mountain King. That's the first one you can actually access in the story. The other one we'll save for a spot at the end. So we're gonna kill some enemies here just to try to catch up on levels, because we've skipped an awful lot of enemies. In order to do that, I'm just gonna take a beating from these things. The sword has a level requirement to be able to swing it, but because I can equip it and because I can crab walk, I can kill them just by holding out the sword and poking them to death with it. Unfortunately, it does minimum damage. So we have to do a few repetitions of this. And this just ends up being the best repeatable source of experience for this point in the game. There will be a very, very short grinding session later on just to be able to get 24 to be able to beat the game. On the order of like 1 minute. So that is, we just hit a level 15, need to get to level 16. And that'll allow us to be able to swing the sword and actually do damage. It probably won't be apparent at first, but there will be some enemies that move so much faster than I do that it's impossible to kill them on their first cycle unless you either have the power bracelet or you can swing this weapon. Because swinging does multiple points of damage. And if they get away from you on their first cycle, they run all the way across the floor, which can take a large amount of time to resolve. So this ends up being a bit better in terms of time, even though it seems a bit odd. Get around the corner, please. There we go. Alright. And as far as the next area that we're going to, that is Dr. Leo's lab. Dr. Leo, if you remember in the story, is the inventor who's kind of the center point of most of the plot. As far as he invented a lot of things in the world, he opened the portal to the world of evil. All that kind of stuff. So this is his laboratory, and a bunch of his inventions are there. as well as some things that got a little bit out of control. Very close. I believe 32,000 is the XP value, if memory serves. So ideally I would just go now and then kill, you know, some enemies in the next area before those fast guys show up. I want to make sure that I'm not wrong about the XP value. Alright. There's just an example of the difference in killing speed. Being able to swing your weapon is very, very helpful. The game is well balanced in a casual playthrough about not giving you weapons that you won't be able to use, as long as you're not just skipping a bunch of stuff. But so little of it is actually required that we end up being a few levels down. These little bulldozer fly enemies do a ton of damage. Even more so than, you know, everything else in this area. So it's these enemies that move substantially faster than you, and they will run for a very long time. They'll basically circle the entire floor. And it's on this floor that I expect to take a death some point along the way. Just because I have recently leveled and I have no access to... It's unfortunate. To medical herbs. And because I have to walk across these damage tiles, I don't think I'm going to make it across here. No, I don't. That's fine. More or less expected. But we got the lion's share of that area of the lab done, which was the goal going into it. Actually took one too many hits there, so this could again be a problem. May take a second death to get through. But this just kind of works out such that you have barely enough HP on a given life to be able to get through all the mandatory damage. Unfortunate. Oh well. It'll be fine. Just barely, not enough. We got on this rotation though. Really need to be able to take one hit there to be able to stand in a spot where I can actually deal damage to those. Don't go upstairs yet. You're going upstairs later. There's that level up. Alright. Now we've released a model town, and that's the last enemy set that we need here. This is the hardest part of Leo's lab in this run. The boss can be a little bit weird, but it shouldn't be too terrible. Alright, and in model town, as you expect, there are small model houses and figurines and such. There are also some invisible enemies that I just kind of have to know where they are. Because I'm not getting a soul that'll allow you to see them. Alright, a couple of enemies on the high ground here. I'm gonna use some caution in shooting them because I don't have a whole lot of gems to spare. And to make sure that I actually do kill them with the gems I have as opposed to having to kill more enemies to be able to cast more spells. Okay, right in that spot there was a catapult that is invisible. But not too critically important. I'm going to split killing these enemies up. Normally you do it all in kind of one function, but without light arrows, and while taking additional damage. It is very easy to die here, even if you do split them up. And that first one opens up a shortcut in the event I do happen to die. The fairly likely event that I die. Again, we have enemies that move faster. I'm going to get this gem chest just to smooth some things out. And I'm probably going to go down for a health refill. It's a little bit slow, but my health is critically low and these things do a lot of damage in the next area. I only need to kill one set of enemies, but if I don't have gems to be able to kill them, then it's much more difficult. Because while you can close to kill them with the sword, they're invisible enemies that fire area of effect shots that will kill me in a matter of a few hits. So it can be really difficult to close onto them. Quite a few more invisible enemies here, but those aren't of a concern to us at the moment. Come on, we'll hit that guy too. Alright. And that gets us down into the other basement. The power plant, I believe it's called. So, Death Warp. So I'm now 3 sets of armor behind. Which means I'm taking, somewhere in the neighborhood of 2.5 times as much damage as I would be otherwise. And that looks a whole lot scarier than it is. Basically, there's that one helicopter that I have to turn to kill. And as long as I do that, I'm completely safe. Because you get a health refill here for the boss. Now this boss, when you're fighting it casually, kind of runs all over the place and teleports. I'm going to do a strategy that involves taking a bunch of damage, but hopefully killing it before I die. And if it doesn't work, then I'll try more or less the same thing again. So I take one full step to the left. And that'll lock it into sort of an up and down pattern. I just have to be able to dodge enough of its fireballs to be able to kill it before I die. And there's a bit of a trade-off here as far as, certain times to turn around this pattern are much easier than others. And I got an extra couple of hits in there, so I wasn't quite able to get there. But that's the basic idea. There is a small degree of randomness to some of the attacks that are going on, because it's shooting missiles also, and those fall in different places. That was a hit I shouldn't have taken. Yeah. This ends up being one of the more difficult bosses with this setup, because you can just take so little damage from it before you die. And unlike most of the other bosses, there actually is some randomness to it. I'm going to try to play super safe against it and just take a while to kill it, in the interest of just getting a kill out of the way. This is sort of the cheesy way to fight it. It goes kind of slow. But as long as I don't let it stop for long enough to fire its missiles, then I don't have to worry about it too much. It just takes a long time for it to die. I was being a little bit greedy before, trying to get in too many hits per cycle. Here, I'll take a hit just to get some more damage. So, we got cheesy backup strats. Was hoping not to have to use them, but what are you gonna do? So this is Lisa's doll, who has the other stone. So everybody does kind of tie together. And we're on to the final true area of the game. There's the World of Evil that comes after it that is fairly difficult, but it also gives us access to the final weapon and armor pretty early. This is the last area of the game that is extremely difficult in low percent, and it is probably the hardest area of the game. Most enemies here will kill me in about 4 hits, and as you would expect, a couple of them do have random movement, and they take a long time to kill. I'm also going to get a weapon that I cannot swing yet. It is not worth going to grind to be able to swing it. I just kind of have to hope that I get lucky for long enough. In particular, the very first set of ghosts could kill me if I get unlucky on it having an early teleport, because then it'll land on top of me and it'll just hit me until I die. I'll be locked into a position I can't move if that happens, so I'll die if it does, but it's not too big a concern. Right, and we're on to Magrid Castle. This is where the king lived that kidnapped Dr. Leo. The king here is the jerk that sold everybody's souls for cash. And then he got imprisoned along with them. Alright, Ghost didn't teleport. So with that being the case, I should be okay here. There's a slightly faster strategy to kill these that involves really specific timing on swinging your sword and opening and closing the menu a lot. It's not any fun to watch, it's difficult to execute, and it's not that much faster, so I'll just go with this approach instead. These things disappear and reappear randomly. There are some rules to what tiles they can move on, that's why that particular space is safe. going to kill these and release this layer just to make it a little bit easier to do this next section. I'm not going to have a safe spot for these ghosts. Because those fireballs are a very real threat to me. And yes, they can reappear directly on top of me. Not too bad. Well, the reason for waiting for those ghosts in that previous spawn cycle is that I can't swing this weapon. They disappear and reappear randomly, but you can get them into a little bit of an AI loop if you stand in a couple of particular locations. And that makes them less likely to disappear for 45 seconds and not show back up for that amount of time. Which is a very real thing that can happen otherwise. You can lose 2 or 3 minutes just to the ghost deciding they want to stay gone. Secret passage here. Didn't get a big gem. Too bad. Alright, again an enemy layer that is likely to kill me because of how quickly these things move. They fire shots that home in on your location, they move to one of 2 locations in your direction, and if you don't have the gems to kill them, you just hope to get a good one. Nope, not quite. So the speed that I die is really the reason that you guys know this is the difficult part of the run. Once I get through this particular section of it, enemies get more predictable but do more damage. So there's a bit of give and take to it. So those balls, if you notice, move very quickly and deal damage at all points along that line. You can only hit them when they're stationary, and their shots are fired somewhat randomly as well. They can only fire a shot when they are stationary. But that shot tracks your location, and they don't fire it necessarily on each pass. So, while the number of things that they can do are fairly limited, the sequencing of those things is where you can get in trouble. We have more ghosts. This is just going to open up a teleporter. Again, primarily a safety issue. And it serves as a way to get back to town. Well, we got a couple more enemies to kill before going all the way back. I didn't get that one. Half a tile. Your movement is perfect, you lure all 4 of those down to that corner. And more ghosts. I have to be level 19 in order to swing this sword. If you notice, I am very close to level 19, even without knowing what XP value that is. This is the last set of ghosts that I have to kill with this weapon, so I will get the level conveniently after being able to swing it is no longer useful. It still does more damage than the previous weapon, so I'll still use it. It's just strange how those things line up. Alright, so we picked up a harp string in that dungeon. There's backstory to that as well, not too important. Lar was in prison, tortured, killed, blah blah blah. So we're gonna give the harp string to this guy because he doesn't have a string for his harp. And he wrote a song for a girl who fell in love with, whose name was something like Lisa. We've met a girl whose name was something like Lisa, and that it was Lisa. But him playing the music will get the soldier to move, and we can get a card that's underneath his feet. One of the better music tracks in the game. Unfortunately, you won't get to hear a whole lot of it. Right, we got Legend of Zelda strats. Where we hide in the doorway. So while it looks like I can move up and be able to kill these things, the trajectory of those fireballs kind of cuts me off. So I can't quite kill these as quickly as they spawn without having an abundance of magic. These chest knights, as you would expect, move in L shapes. Which one exactly they take is random. I'm going to take a hit here from the fireball to make sure I get that kill in time. So they can take, they'll tend to go toward aggressive positions, but kind of flip a coin between the two to determine which of the two positions they take. Which is kind of cool. I wait for them to settle into their spot here, because while it's jumping, its hitbox actually pushes through the wall and can hit you for what would be a very large percentage of my health right now. Again, we have Invisible Wall. Or Invisible Passage in what appears to be a solid wall. You can get a soul in this area of a soldier who knows the layout of the castle, and it'll reveal all the hidden passages and treasure chests to you. But the game is good about, if it has something hidden, if you know where it is, you don't need like the item to trigger your ability to see it. You can just go pick it up. Like I could open the hidden treasure chests also just by knowing where they are. This opens the passage to the next area. We'll also release a couple of other people, one of which may be significant. And coming up is what is probably the single hardest room in the game in this category. It'll be the first room of the next tower. So there's Dr. Leo, who looks remarkably like Sid from FF4, and he builds airships and other inventions, and he may have other similarities later that we'll see. Alright, off to see the Queen. The Queen is going to ask if she's pretty, which is kind of a strange thing for a Queen to ask a stranger. But, sure, okay. And then she puts something in your pocket. Again, I'm sure it's not a big deal. So get a VIP card, that'll let you into this tower. And now... it's a bad pattern on those. Fun. It's the wrong spot. So I have these torches that will throw fireballs at me. And these enemies that do a lot of damage. And I have to dodge the fireballs because they'll kill me otherwise. And all of the enemies' attacks. So this is why it's the hardest room in the game. Everything does so much damage to you that it is extremely easy to... Awful pattern. Come on. Come on. And this one is a bit easier to take out once you've already died once, actually. Because you can use this pattern. Kind of lure them through the doorway, and as long as you react to the fireball shots when they happen, you'll be fine. Got four chest knights that'll spawn at the same time, and I have to kind of read and react. Since each of them can move into 2 locations, you get a lot of different versions of this. That's a lot of damage. Get hit by all the fireballs. Okay, well, I took 1,000,000 damage, but made it through the room. That means I'm probably going to die toward the top of the tower, but we made it through this room. The exit is another hidden doorway. That's a set of stairs right up here. And mimics. Come on, guy, use your attack. It's one of the hardest attacks to dodge. Along with this guy down here. Alright. Alright. And we're up to a boss. There's a bit of a cutscene and then the boss. This is Storm Eagle. He's actually the demon bird, but he operates like Storm Eagle. Every time he dives, that's I mean, technical difficulties are to be expected. This is why we blame Everhate.
Of course. I think Mythical is making some adjustments too, so...
Yeah, I've got it back up on my end and it looks fine. It's not dropping any frames. I don't have the bandwidth to be able to check the source stream.
Okay, it looks like you're back up.
Am I good now?
Yeah, it looks like you're back up.
Alright. Alright. So through that process of Sid going explode, Leo going explode, got the airship key, and let me fight Storm Eagle. So here we go with Storm Eagle. Nice, I missed a line for the first hit too. I am probably dead on this first attempt. 3 dives. 4 dives? Five. 6. I'm gonna stop counting now, because I have to kind of pay attention. So with this setup, I have to wait for, during one of its flame attacks when it's moving across the ship, it will fail to attack due to sprite overload. And it's not consistent exactly which one that'll be. I have to react to that happening and move across so I don't take a hit and end up dying. In any percent, you would just take the damage and kill him so quickly it wouldn't be a problem. One more crossing pattern. Like I said, every dive wastes a few seconds. It is Storm Eagle. And the way his AI works, and the reason that I'm waiting so far down, he'll get a certain distance above you before settling into its location and selecting an attack. So I always move down to the same height. And that way I'm able to get it to be at a predictable height to either dive or cross. I can only get in about 1 hit when it dives, but I can get in 15, 18, 20 whenever it moves across, depending on which one was the Phantom Fire. So this is the last sort of hub world. There's one more area to the game because we're going to open up the World of Evil. But there are no towns in the World of Evil, strangely enough. Difficult to get construction in those parts. So it is just straight up dungeon. And of course everything there will kill me more or less instantly. So it's unforgiving, it's not terribly difficult, but it's another place where I could die a few times just a result of, you know, take a couple of hits here and there and die super fast. But it's fairly short, so it shouldn't be too bad. So I talk to the king, get some exposition. He's still mourning the loss of the queen, even though she was evil, but it gives us the final stone that we need to open the next way. And there are a few enemies here that I will likely have to kill with fireballs. and it's going to take a lot of fireballs per kill. But you get enough gem drops that it shouldn't be too big of a problem. I just need to get them into locations that I can actually hammer away on them. Awful positioning. See if I can take a death immediately. Actually, I'm going to take a death for a health refill. This fly will cooperate. So as you can see, deaths come very fast. These flies in particular, if you are entering this area for the first time, tend to be very difficult enemies. Oh my goodness, so much damage. Because they can only be hit at the end of their paths, and they move very quickly. So manipulating them into places where you can actually do things can be somewhat problematic. Luckily, they're not random at all. Ouch. Here I have to kill a couple of what would otherwise be optional enemies. The reason is that I can't damage boost through these blocks like you normally would be able to. So I need to open up these passages. Yeah, I knew that was going to happen. Going to go ahead and grab this item. The level for the final boss is level 24. You have to be level 24 to be able to beat the game, but by the time you're level 24, you are capable of doing so quite comfortably. And the reason you have to be 24 is that gives you enough experience to be able to swing the final weapon that I'll be getting shortly. And that gives you the ability to cast Phoenix, which otherwise you couldn't do. And that's the only way to deal damage to him. Some players find it easier to go to 25, but, you know, really, by that point, if you're not successful at 24 or 25, additional levels aren't going to do a whole lot for you. It's more about figuring out the strategy at that point. Because the levels don't give you a whole lot beyond this point. Now once I'm through this little turn, I'm just going to take a damage boost here too. That may lead to a death, but now I have the best armor in the game. That is actually required to finish, both because you can't cast the Phoenix without it, and you can't get through this area without it. Nice step. That said, even with the last armor, we don't take 0 damage. Things still are a bit of a threat. Mostly if I run into one of those extremely predictable walls. Oh, come on, you can kill that there. Or not. So we're at level 22, we need to get to 24 to finish the game. And conveniently for a game called Soul Blazer, that happens at 420,000 experience. I'll just kind of let that comment hang there for a moment. Now we have 2 out of the 3 Phoenix pieces. There's just 1 left to get. And that is back in the second area of the game. So this was the area right before the second boss. And you find these spirit enemies that you can't kill. The other ones that you could come back and kill, stop running from me please, would give you access to another spell. Again, not a very useful spell, and something that we can't get anyway, but it's worth noting. Alright. We get a bird, and the bird will give us the last item that's needed to get the Phoenix. Then I just have to take those to Mountain King, learn to dance from some grandmas, and it'll be good times. Now, if you remember those grandmas that we released in this area, right before leaving it, they're going to play an important role here. First of all, I've got 2 conversations stored up, because the game expects you to come talk to Mountain King after you release him. So he's going to go through his original dialogue about going to talk to Gnome, which we've already done and gone well past it. But then we'll get into the stuff about the Phoenix. And the magic of the Phoenix comes from the magic of dancing grandmas. And there they go. Spin and hop, spin and hop. Yeah, this run is just kind of a fill-in for folks who are confused. The run that's on Saturday by Stinger is an any percent run. We just kind of had some time open and decided to go with low percent for maximum suffering. But the any percent run is a cool watch. You get to actually use very powerful things. And there's some really cool strategy to it, so definitely catch that one. Alright, everything has been acquired that we need to beat the game, except for experience. So, very light grinding. And then the final boss. We will miss the estimate slightly, but given I don't think this run has ever actually been completed on the North American version, so not too bad, all things considered. I'm fairly certain I'm the only person that runs this category, and I've done runs on the Japanese version in the past, opposed to North America, so there we go. All things
Every
considered.
one of these rotations is, like I said, I need to get to 420,000
My grinding technique is lacking.
That gives you level 24, and that means
There
that
we
you
go.
can.
Every one of these
swing this
rotations
final
is
level
12,000
to let you
experience.
cast Phoenix.
Like I said, I need to get to 420,000 total. That gives
The
you
last
level
boss,
24, and that means that you can swing this final
depending
weapon
on the
to
patterns
let you
that I
cast
get,
Phoenix.
could theoretically cause some problems. It's normally not too bad as long
The
as
last
I don't
boss-
take a bunch of extra damage from things.
Depending on the patterns
So
that I
here we
get,
go.
could theoretically cause some problems. It's normally not too bad as long as I don't take a bunch of extra damage from things. So here we go. So we get a bit of lag in this fight. I did take a couple of hits that I shouldn't have taken, but actually a lot of damage I shouldn't have taken. Basically the cycle is you kill these blue flames, and it's best to just poke them to death with your sword. And then the head becomes vulnerable. It'll shoot 3 fire jests that have a different pattern depending on which version you play. And during that time, it is vulnerable to attack. But the hitboxes are pretty generous. The Phoenix has a very wide hitbox, as does the boss's head. So you can hit from about 75% of this platform. That's a bad cycle. Awful. Got a little bit distracted by some type of weird stuff in chat, but there's no reason I should ever die to that boss. Just took too many hits early on. Awful pattern there. Alright, let's not do a dumb this time. So I take 2 hits from one cycle. Getting really unfortunate sync because of... So these flames appear randomly, and how they sync up with the laser shots will both cause differing levels of lag and make the attacks more or less difficult to dodge. I don't have to dodge that many attacks. I do have to collect gems, because I took that death. That would be something to do. And we're done. So, a little bit sloppy there at the end and a couple of other places throughout. But, all in all, here's a Soul Blazer low percent run.
No, that was an excellent run, man.
Yeah. It's, this game is interesting, the number of things you can do with it, because there's just, the game gives you so much, and if you choose to take none of it, it does get pretty difficult. But overall, it's not too difficult a game to learn to run for people who are looking for one. But with that, we'll move on to, I believe, Roadrunner is next?
Yeah. But yeah,
Good
like
stuff.
like you said, like the low percent run seems very challenging and stuff. I know you took a lot of deaths, but that kind of comes with the territory of running low percent. Also, I mean, your time would probably be underestimate actually had we not had so many stream issues. But you know, that's entirely your fault. You know,
Yeah.
we're just gonna go ahead and lay the blame on you.
It is to be expected. But yeah, stay tuned for Roadrunner, and more good stuff after that. Thank you guys for letting me do things, and hope you enjoy the rest of the marathon.
Yeah, thank you so much.